Well, happy New Year's Eve, everybody. Made it through 2022. Let's see how 2023 goes. As you guys can tell, I took the dash out. It's one of those spur of the moments, trying to get wiring out, and I got really annoyed with it, so I just grabbed tools and ripped it out and forgot to get my camera. And a few of you have let me know how disappointed you were I didn't record it. Talking with James, he did the GT rear swap mid-engine. So my goal now is to actually get all the hardware off the crash bar that I don't need, get it all out of the way, and still removing a lot of the wiring that's not longer needed either. Once I get that done, I will be pulling out the ECU and the fuse box out from underneath the hood and be mostly extending the wiring. I'm going to place them underneath where the glove box used to be. But to make my life a lot easier, it's going to be a lot easier to extend wires that I do need and not have to extend and then cut again. So first order of business is get rid of everything. There will be eventually a plate up here. I'm only going to be putting a tack and a speedometer back in. I'm going to build a face here to put a radio, gauges, and then because I'm keeping the heating in the car, because I don't care about driving around when it's hot with the windows down, but I don't really like freezing my ass off. So I am keeping the heater core and all that stuff. Let's kiss 2022 goodbye and pull some wiring. Well, to get started, I gotta get off the underbracing. This is where the bottom of your dash used to connect to. So I'm gonna take these two off, and then the two around the glove box. I have to check whether the top part that holds the light bulb for your glove box and see if that's welded on or bolted on. If it's welded, we're gonna have to grind it off. What I did find out with these is that both your light controls and your turn signals and your windshield wipers are detachable. All it is two prongs on top and bottom. Alright, so coming out of the passenger footwell, I got a black, I should say a white with a, no, it's a white with a red stripe and a black with a red stripe, which is what's on this chewed up ABS wheel speed sensor. This is the line coming out. I need to cut this loom up to figure out how I have two wires. So there should be a return, if anything, to the ABS module. I'm gonna have to go back into my original harness and pull it apart. But for some reason, Mitsubishi has a crap ton of extra ground wire. We still have like another foot back to go. For us, don't need it. So the bulk of this is ABS module and grounding. SRS, it's for the sensor that used to be behind the radiator. So these are both going bye-bye. Extra 30 feet of grounding. This is the back out to the wheel speed sensor. So pretty much the only thing I'm going to be saving out of this entire loom is going to be the parking light and the headlight. Everything else is going to be cut. So the only thing I do have to make sure is that I do retain the grounding for these. So I am going to have to pull these looms out until I find these grounds and then make sure they stay grounded. The rest of this is going to be going out back to the ECU and pulled. Out of everything I just took out, the only thing I'm keeping is the window and door controls for the passenger side, which some of this is actually for the radio. So I have to go through this and de-pin. Mirror controls. This is the fog in your seat heat. I think this is a, no, traction control would be here if I had it. But the wiring's there, no buttons, and it's technically wired to nothing. So wiring's all there for stuff I don't even have. Alright guys, so I got about 3+ hours of record time of trying to get this harness apart, and it's been quite a debacle. I do need to pick up a pin kit, but all the wiring has been terminated from pin to fuse box. So I do have a lot of cleaning up to do, some zip tying, get stuff just organized and out of the way. Still a lot more to pull. The end goal here is to pull the fuse box and ECU out of the engine bay, and we're going to bring it inside here and mount it underneath where the HVAC is currently. But once I get a pan, I got to drain some coolant and pull that whole box out. So the end goal is going to be capping off where the radio and everything used to be. I'm going to build a panel, and we're going to move the key ignition wiring and all this other stuff. I'm gonna have toggles up there so I can get all of this off the wheel, or I should say off the column. But window switches, door locks, and then all of my gauges will be there. And we'll see what I have room for left. I might keep the radio up there, or I might build it back. So I'm trying to keep everything minimized, because eventually there will be a roll cage going in here. And eventually I want to get this bar actually out and painted and then put it back in. I got a couple brackets that need to come off still. But wiring is definitely not fun at all. It's mind-numbing. But my main purpose for all of this is to get rid of every feature that's not being used, get it out of the way, get the wiring out. I mean, just from what I removed now after this, I definitely have about 10 pounds of cable out of the car. And that's not including all the plastic clips and fucking tape. So definitely a lot more work to do. Like I said, once we get all this in, I'm eventually going to have to extend the wiring for the engine management, and I would be shortening a lot of wires for in here. So my main concern right now is trying to find the immobilizer, make sure I get that not really fucked with too much. Once I get the wiring figured out and get the HVAC pulled out, the next thing up is going to be picking up a secondary heater unit. It's about 20,000 BTUs it can still put out, but it still hooks up to the existing coolant passages. I just like having that. But that's going to get wired in completely separate, so all the wiring for the climate controls is out. I just have to track it back, because some of it comes out of the fuse box that's under the hood. But still going to be cleaning up everything. I'm going to be rewrapping everything in Tesla tape. The car was definitely in a couple of accidents, from JB Weld on wiring clips to finding Tesla tape on harnesses over here. The display, when I pulled it out, I can tell it's not the stock one. So this car definitely has a lot of history and a lot of rust. So this I'm going to take a break from. I still have to finish pulling the vapor and fuel lines off the engine and out from underneath the car. I'm hoping soon to pick up an angle grinder, so we'll end up cutting out the trunk to get the box set. I'm going to have to pick up some metal, see and figure out how I'm going to mount that. It's a 20-gallon tank, so I'm not really a big fan of just 4 welded on supports around the backside. So I'm going to try to figure out some under bracing and then a basket, and we'll go from there. Still a lot to do. Thanks for watching.